Hey everybody, Austin here again, trying something a little bit different here on YouTube. Sort of like a podcast. Kind of like a podcast. Actually, it pretty much is a podcast. I want to say hello to my friend Kris Genthe here, who's with me.
Hello, Austin. Long
hello,
time
Chris.
no chat.
Long time no audio chat. For those of you guys that don't know him, Kris Genthe runs the IMPLANTgames website, IMPLANTgames.com, as well as the YouTube channel, IMPLANTgames. And Kris and I actually used to do a podcast together. As of uploading this video, it's probably been about a year now since we actually did our last podcast episode. So I thought it would be kind of fitting to get back in touch with Kris and, talk to him. Maybe do a podcast-like episode where we talk games and stuff like that, and sort of just shoot the shit, see what is going on with one another's lives and whatnot. What Kris has been up to in the world of YouTube, since he's actually been very, very busy at it over this past year. And yeah, I just thought it would be fun to do this. Kris, since this is, being made for my YouTube channel, not everybody watching or listening is going to understand or know what you do.
What?
Would you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us about your YouTube channel. Tell us about the types of videos viewers can find there. And obviously, I'll have some links to your channel and website and stuff like that down below so people can check that out. But yeah, youtube.com/implantgames or implantgames.com. Not that there's much on there that isn't on the YouTube channel. But yeah, Austin, basically, you and I did a podcast every other week, every third week for about 4 years. Something crazy like that. 69 episodes. Yep, we actually ended on the 70th
because we started at
we
0.
had 69. Yeah, we started at 0, so 70 full episodes.
So basically, since then, I've pretty much gone gung-ho on YouTube. So I started my YouTube channel back in 2010, which is kind of when everybody really started making YouTube videos. YouTube really started taking off. I think it was about 5 years old, and a lot of the video sites started failing, and everyone sort of congregated to YouTube, and I did as well. But Austin, I did not take it as serious as you, and I just did not upload content very often. And yeah, I think about a year ago, I probably had 450 subs or something like that. And then about a year or so ago, I had a really bad day at work and decided to take it a lot more serious. So I've been doing 4 videos a week. Usually it is a retro video game review, and that's pretty much how it really started. And then from there, I've made some list videos, videos on the Atari Jaguar, the 32X, the Sega CD that have been pretty popular. I've done some comparison videos on Daytona USA, the different versions of that. And I've also done quite a few videos on the XRGB Mini FrameMeister. So if you're into that or curious about that, I've got all of my footage is recorded from that hardware. So if you want to see what that's all about, you should definitely check that out too. But it's all old console gaming, a little bit of new console gaming, nothing with PCs or anything like that. But if you watch Austin's channel, then it's definitely the type of stuff that you want to be watching.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, I've got to say, I think your stuff has really improved over the last year in particular, since you started focusing on it primarily. Like, there's no podcast distracting you or anything like that. And obviously, I'm guessing the website's probably taken a back seat to it, sort of.
It needs to be updated and more useful. I would like to add your Let's Play videos and a couple other guys that I've made friends with on YouTube as well, but
okay.
Just not a priority, but someday.
Yeah, okay, right on.
But for now, it's not much of a destination. I don't even know if websites even matter anymore, Austin. I think, apps and YouTube.
I think websites really
only
matter if websites only really matter if you're really popular. I think if you're just or doing a specific kind of content, like if you're doing mostly text-based content, I think websites are still relevant. Yeah. But if you're doing video stuff, it's like it's all there on YouTube anyway. It's kind of redundant to have a website that just has a bunch of random ads, worse than YouTube, like in the case of Channel Awesome, and just featuring your videos and probably a crappier web player. In the case of Channel Awesome, yeah. But you would just be embedding your YouTube videos. But yeah, it's redundant. A lot of people I think what I've noticed over the years is that people like a centralized sort of pot of videos they can watch at. They don't like going to 5 different places to watch videos. They want to go to YouTube or something like
for
that.
all the changes we've watched over YouTube over the past 4 or 5 years. Every time they change something, people they hate it. But YouTube is so easy to use, and it's so easy to find exactly what you want. Like when you post a new video, I don't miss it. Like it's all the changes they've made have been so good, and it's eliminated the need for websites or searching for content. The mobile app is ridiculously good, so it's updated. I guess it's just there for search results, really nothing else at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. But you still got the website, so people that want to check that out, Kris does have a lot of written articles on the website. I think I even have a couple from many years ago. I think a Master System article or something like that. So you can check out his website. Lots of written stuff there as well. I mean, you started off writing reviews. You didn't really start the YouTube video thing until about right before we did the podcast, probably in 2010 or so. Or was it 2010 or was it 2011? I think it was 2010.
I don't remember. I'd have to look.
and even back then, though, you still did it kind of once in a while. You still like writing articles in your website, and written reviews was still your primary focus. So, and it's kind of taken a complete 180.
I don't think. I don't really think there's much money, I guess, in writing, or at least the people that do. I don't know how they do it. I mean, an IGN, obviously, or Huffington Post or something like that, where it's tens of millions of views. It kind of works, but like a gaming blog, I don't even know how you find an audience anymore. Well,
a lot of times, yeah. I mean, I remember when I was younger doing gaming blogs, and like it was just kind of about the passion. But the thing is like when you get older, you have a family. Like in your case, you obviously have a family, with kids and stuff like that. And it's like, time's kind of limited, and you want to be able to get your content out to as many people as possible. And that's why video is kind of appealing. But that's a topic for another day, of course. I don't want to go down that path because we'll be talking about that for an hour and be sounding like jaded old men, even though we're not really old. And So Kris, I guess moving on from that, do you have any specific reviews or videos down the pipeline, in the near future that people might be able to look forward to?
Right now, tomorrow's video, well, I shouldn't say tomorrow because now it's probably 3 weeks ago.
This is probably going to be uploaded about a month from when we record. It could be out next week for all I know, but I don't think it is. I'm going to try to do a lot of video editing on this one. Not great editing, but I'm going to try to overlay gameplay footage and screen caps and stuff like that to make it more like a video cast that people can enjoy looking at as well as listening to. So.
Tomorrow will be T-Mech for the Sega 32X.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah, interesting game. I'm not sure how much you know about it, Austin. It's a bit obscure, but I'm sure you've played
I've owned it. Yeah. Yep.
So
it's based on the arcade game, yeah. I heard it's a very trimmed down conversion, like majorly trimmed down, but it's still cool that we got it. I got a home version of it because even the arcade game was obscure. So
it's still, it came out in 1994 when polygons in the arcade were really starting to hit their stride, otherwise 2D fighting games. So it's kind of like I don't even know what you'd call it, a vehicle combat game maybe, where you kind of have a tank and you're in like an arena.
It's almost like a really fast-paced battle zone in a way.
Exactly.
When you look at it, except obviously much newer and faster and a little more complex. Maybe not complex, but still pretty basic.
It's nice on the 32X because the whole game is made of sprites, but it's all scaling sprites. So like Afterburner or Space Harrier. It's not as smooth as those games, but it's still pretty interesting that it exists. People like to kind of bash the 32X, stating none of the games look better than what was capable on the Genesis, and this is definitely one of those games that's
definitely not true. Yeah,
it's definitely a game that couldn't be done on the Super Nintendo or the Genesis. Not a great game. I mean, it's a fun diversion. If the controls work, the game works. It's just not terribly exciting. It's more interesting.
I remember liking it. I remember liking it back in the day when I had it, but I haven't really had the urge to play it again. Maybe I'll try it on stream one night.
Yeah.
my next 32x stream. So what else could we look forward to? Obviously T-Mech. I kind of cut you off there.
After that, I have a kind of a running list. I go off script a lot. So tomorrow is Friday. Friday's video is T-Mech. Saturday's video, I don't even know yet. I haven't recorded it or written it. It might be DuckTales Remastered on the Xbox 360. That's one of those I mentioned in your chat a week and a half ago.
And I was like, oof. Oh, man.
I think that game will take me about 4 hours to play, so it's all about time management. If I don't have 4 hours, then I'm just going to play Sonic Drift on the Game Gear. So DuckTales Remastered, I've played maybe 45 minutes of that, Austin. Enjoyed what was there. Obviously not the greatest 2D platformer ever. Not terrible either.
Did you ever play the NES one?
Yeah, I've reviewed it.
Oh, you reviewed it. Sorry, I didn't. I must not have. Well, I must have missed that one.
There's no way you could watch every video. Austin, since over the last 9 months, I think I've done 240 videos, 230 videos, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I've also really severely cut back the amount I actually watch on YouTube. So I do miss a lot of videos these days.
Yeah, same here. I keep meaning to get through UN Squadron. That's a game I really want to review as well. But when I play it, I always die, and it doesn't quite click with me. So that's one of your Let's Plays that I really want to, when I have 50 minutes to sit down and see what you do and see what it's all about, so that I can experience that for myself. But in the near future, also is going to be a comparison video of the Genesis and Saturn versions of Sonic 3D Blast. Weirdly enough, I've reviewed that game in the past, and people seem to like to watch, anything regarding Sonic, really. So that one's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, Sonic's a popular topic.
It doesn't even matter what game. It's weird.
I need to go back and finish up my Sonic Let's Play series. I started with part 1, but I've kind of... I never did part 2, and that's an easy Let's Play to do. So.
Well, when you do it, Austin, fix your video, because your Sonic 1 footage was really squished. The rings were not circle, nor the loop-de-loops.
You sure? I put it in 4:3, so...
something about it looks off.
I mean...
That's beyond the point.
It looks off to you, because you got an XRGB Mini, and anything that's not going through the XRGB Mini looks like someone pooped on it.
I think if you go back and watch, you'll see what I'm saying.
No, I actually, funny enough, I checked it out yesterday, because somebody left a comment on it. Somebody left a weird comment, actually, and... So no, I'll make sure. I mean, what happens is, with the Elgato, the footage is stretched, and so I had to go in Vegas and squish it manually if I want to do 4:3. So sometimes I might have
you overcompensate
just a teeny bit too much.
Plus, every game's different. Super Nintendo games are the opposite; they need to be stretched. I don't know. I was gonna leave a comment, but I'm like, he doesn't want to hear that.
No, I don't. Don't leave comments like that.
I do. After that, it'll be NBA Jam Tournament Edition, also on the 32X.
Nice.
Another game that had some nice enhancements for the 32X if you know what you're looking for. Especially with the players scaling bigger as they get closer to the screen, smaller as they get farther away, and then just a much more detailed animated crowd. It is a better experience than what's on the Genesis. I don't think it really gets any credit for what it does.
Well, I think people that have actually played it, they appreciate the game. They know it's a good version of the game. But the thing is, it's the 32X, and a lot of people assume, it's just a port on the 32X. It's like Mortal Kombat 2, I think, was actually, people really praised the 32X one, but I actually think it wasn't that phenomenal compared to what you already got in the Super Nintendo. But NBA Jam TE was a great port on the 32X. It definitely looked better than the 16-bit versions in pretty much every way.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Whereas in Mortal Kombat 2, it's some of the backgrounds still looked kind of crappy. The characters looked great, but the sound was still shit, basically. And it was so it was a mishmash. But NBA Jam was just awesome. I love NBA Jam and NBA Jam TE.
I'm a little less familiar with what TE added. I think the biggest thing is players get tired, don't they? And then you need to swap them out at the end of the half.
I think so. I don't remember. But I do know that one of the big draws to TE was just all the extra hidden characters and stuff like that, and cheat codes and
the hotspots and some of the other weird things. I don't remember all what's in it. Don't interest me. I like the core gameplay of NBA Jam.
Yeah. I don't think I ever messed with any of the other modes or anything. I
don't think anyone does.
I always just played the standard 2-on-2, and it just had a blast. Even playing by myself, that game is fun. So right on, man. So you got lots of stuff. Well, I know you've got lots of stuff cooked up. You always do. And as you guys know, Kris is uploading pretty much every other day on YouTube. So go check out his channel if you haven't already. I know many of you guys watching here have and already follow him, but I also know a bunch of you here probably have never heard of him before. So that's even more reason for you to go check him out. Now I'm really curious, Kris. We did not do well, since we weren't doing the podcast in December or January, we didn't do our retro game awards like we normally would, where we basically talk about the best games we played over the last year. And I thought it would be kind of fun to go back to that, maybe not in that format, but maybe talk about some of the absolute best games you've played over the last year, whether you've reviewed them or not.
Oh, you want me to go back to 2014 or 2015?
No, 2015 is fine. So we okay. Go back about 10 months. 10 months. So
alrighty, there we go. Dang. All right.
Is Mega Man 2 going to be on there?
I'm looking at my list, Austin. I have a master list for the reviews. So 2015 kicked off with episode 90, Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, and up to yesterday, which was episode 207. So that's 117 games I've played through this year. Let's, you know what, Austin?
Well, I know you've played a lot of duds too.
A lot of
games. A lot of games you haven't been like you've enjoyed, but you haven't been a lot of 3 out of 5 games or a lot of 2 out of 5 games. But I know you've had a couple 5 out of 5s. What I'm interested to know is if those 5 out of 5s that you rated were actually your favorites to play throughout the year, or if you played something off stream, off YouTube, you know, like you played Minecraft with the kids or something like that, or you got a new modern game that you just found was amazing.
No, I don't want to sound pretentious. That's the last thing I want to sound like. But honestly, if I'm playing a game, I'm playing it to ultimately review it, and that's just a time management thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. You've got to set, goals like that, and because time's limited. It's like for me, like I actually don't play a ton of classic games off of YouTube or streaming anymore. So it's like, I got an FM Towns Marty recently, and so I actually sat down and played some of that on my own last week, off stream and off YouTube. But aside from that, barely anything. So it's like, So I totally understand where you're coming from. Time's limited, so you can't spend 20 hours a week recording videos and then play 20 hours of games.
Well, let's talk about the non-obvious ones, Austin. I think Shenmue is probably a good place to start on the Dreamcast.
Okay.
Obviously, huge news this year that we're actually going to get a Shenmue 3. Which a lot of people really went nuts about. I enjoyed Shenmue when it came out. I beat it back in 2000, and honestly, since 2000, and then since I reviewed it, I've probably played it maybe 3 times, played for an hour, and then shut it off. So I own Shenmue 2 on the Xbox. I used to own the European release on the Dreamcast, but same thing, played maybe an hour or 2 here or there. Never got anywhere, just it's a really long game, never really grabbed my attention. I don't know what made me grab it again for the Dreamcast, but I don't remember if I missed a racing day or just I woke up on a Sunday morning and said, I'm just going to sit here and play this game until it's beaten. But over the course of pretty much 2 days, 50 hours, all I did was play Shenmue 2 and played it from start to finish in 3 sittings. And when I got to the end, I was actually, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I wasn't sure if I was going to fall on the side of the fence, like, this is a little overrated. The people that enjoy it are maybe feeling a bit of nostalgia, because I don't really have nostalgia for it. I ended up actually really falling in love with it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I feel like it's aged really well. If you're into something that's still very modern, very easy to control and play, the controls are really simple for the amount of immersion in the game. Really easy to play today. Like anybody could play it. It's so good. The fighting bits, where it kind of turns into a virtual fighter game, are a bit more challenging, but you kind of have unlimited continues, so you just sort of figure it out if you didn't practice your moves and build up Rio. So I would say that's been my biggest surprise of the year. I did not think I was going to sit through start to finish and just really, really enjoy it.
Yeah. That's a game I actually bought the day it came out back in, 2000?
I might have,
and it was interesting, but I never really got sucked into it. It was hard for me to get into it because like the very beginning of the game is very, very slow, and actually probably the entire game is probably really slow now that I think about it, based on the stuff I saw in your video. But you know, the first time I played the game, I was just walking to every single door and knocking and getting no response. I was like, what did I just pay $50 for? You know, I did end up putting like 3 or 4, 5, 6 hours of time into it back in the day. You know, once I found the arcade and started buying stuff, these started to click. But I never went back to it. I stopped. And whenever I try to go back to it, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe one of these years I'll eventually be able to get through Shenmue. Maybe not.
You're going to have to like plan 3 days. Like, okay, these 3 days is I'm going to get through Shenmue. It's not one
and
of
this is all I'm going to do. Yeah. So,
the next thing I would say that really kind of surprised me or took me by surprise, also, as we kind of talked about a lot over the years on the podcast, is obviously there are thousands and tens of thousands of different retro games, but there's a lot of like classics that I really didn't play as a kid. They weren't available to me, and I've kind of been catching up on. So another one that really surprised me was Streets of Rage 2, which I didn't think I was going to enjoy as much as I did.
Really? You never played that one back in the day?
No, I've never owned a...
Oh, man.
Up until...
That was a game to miss.
Yeah.
That was an awesome game.
Still is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, so Streets of Rage 2, a beat-em-up. Not my favorite genre. Obviously, I'm familiar with the Turtles game on the NES, as probably most people from born in the 80s are. But beyond that, not a real big game genre for me. I was always into platforming and racing games, so things kind of outside that, as I was a kid, were just way off my radar. So that is an absolutely awesome beat 'em up for the Sega Genesis. The music is obviously really good, and that's another thing I've really learned this year in particular is common wisdom is like the Super Nintendo has better music than the Genesis, but I don't really believe that anymore, Austin. I would say my favorite music from the 16-bit generation is easily on the Genesis, and I would say in many genres, it can go to toe-to-toe. In some genres, it's better, and then obviously, you know, like an orchestrated sound, the Super Nintendo is superior, but I wouldn't make a blanket statement saying the Super Nintendo has superior audio hardware. And
no, you can't make a blanket statement about that, because, you know, again, for me, it all depends on the style. Like, the Genesis does synthesize music by nature. That's the nature of its sound hardware. And so stuff that sounds more electronic music like, you know, synthy, you know, works a lot better on the Genesis. Sounds much warmer, sounds much more natural. And you get that on the, you know, Streets of Rage. Super Nintendo, like you said, is much better for, you know, like your piano sounds and your strings and, you know, sort of natural instruments like that, which the Genesis has a very, very difficult time replicating. Genesis can do some guitar-ish sounds, you know, but they sound really grindy in comparison, which is great for certain games like
Comic Zone.
Oh, and phenomenal soundtrack. It's one of my favorite video game soundtracks ever. And but yeah, you can't just say you can't just use a blanket statement and say, oh, the Super Nintendo audio is way better, because there's a ton of really bad sounding Super Nintendo games too, where they could have benefited from sound hardware like the Genesis has, you know. So, and vice versa. But I think they both sound great in their own unique right. And that's the thing, they're both unique sound hardware. Yeah, some things just naturally sound better on one over the other. And the Genesis, though, I know we've talked about this in the past, but a lot of Genesis games, the developers just did not want to take advantage of the sound hardware, even though it had the capabilities to. Especially American developers, absolutely. And I forgot there was one game I played recently where, like, I had never played it before, and I was like, man, this game looks great, but it sounds like shit. Like, it sounds really bad. Like, God, why, guys? Why? Like, you know, you've got this great looking and playing game, and the audio is just like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's just like, what? You know, I think it was an American developed game, actually, now that I think about it. So, funny enough.
The standard sound engine that Sega shipped with the Genesis development kit, I forget what it's called. I want to say GEMS, but that can't be right. And yeah, that you can tell when a game uses the development kit sound engine, because it all has that same hollow, twangy, just dreadful sound. And then you get
dreadful is the right
some of the
word.
better Japanese games from Sega and Konami are obviously just in a league of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Castlevania Bloodlines and Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage,
Rocket Knight
stuff
Adventure.
like that. So, Rocket Knight. And fortunately, we had somebody in the U.S. take advantage of it finally with Comic Zone, which we already mentioned. But other developers, like the Scavenger guys, really, really pumped that sound hardware with like Subterranea from 1993. So there's still some great stuff made in the U.S. Subterranea was, I think, actually developed in the U.S., but it was actually made by a bunch of European dudes. Right on, man. Any other great, phenomenal games you played? I mean, I gotta bring it back, man. Mega Man 2. Like, that's
yeah. So I finally got to
not to put words in your mouth or anything. But
I did find I've had Mega Man 2 for a while. And I've actually attempted to review it in the past, and there was always a section of Wily's Castle that kind of threw me off and kind of just made me quit playing and put it off for another day. So I did finally get through that and review it, and obviously Mega Man 2 is an amazing game. You don't have to have nostalgia, you don't have to like platformers, you don't have to like run and guns. It's just one of those games. It's up there with like Mario and just sheer playability and awesomeness. Definitely, a top 5 NES game for sure. And there's a reason why everybody loves this game. There's a reason why it sold 1 million or whatever copies. Just absolutely, pretty much stunning from start to finish. So that is that was an easy 5 out of 5, no brainer. And then that kind of leads into Mega Man X as well, which is kind of the 16-bit Mega Man game that most people really love. So I finally found that actually most of the stuff I find in the wild, I don't really buy on eBay or anything. So I did stumble upon Mega Man X at a used shop and got that, and rather enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, Mega Man X for me is one of my absolute favorite Mega Man games. It's just a very well done game. It's it's not super tough like the later ones are, and it's it's got a rockin' soundtrack, and it's clearly designed to be a high energy kind of game, and it works. So at least that's the vibe I got from it. So
the two things that I really enjoy about both of those games is they're not insanely difficult. Like, people say Mega Man 2 is hard, but it's not hard. If I can get through it, anybody can. It's not that hard. Same with Mega Man X. There's just a real nice balance there where
you have some tricky parts, but
it leads up
with some
to
practice
it,
you will get over them. It leads up to it.
It's not like
absolutely.
Ninja Gaiden or Battletoads or something like it. Like, it's not that at all.
Battletoads. Oh, man. Don't even get me started on that one.
And Austin, why don't I end with actually Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So obviously you can...
Yeah, I saw your review on that, a few months back now.
So that, obviously Sonic 2 is an awesome game. One of my favorites from my childhood, from my adulthood. Love Sonic 2. But I'd actually never played through it with Knuckles before. So plugging that into Sonic and Knuckles and kind of playing as Knuckles, I didn't really think it would make that big of a difference, but it kind of did. They tweaked a few things that make the game a lot better for people that aren't experienced with the game or maybe not into Sonic games. It's a lot easier to keep your rings after doing special stages, so you can rack up lives easier, and then since you're not losing rings after coming out of a special stage, it's easier to get to the next one. It actually made a really huge difference to me as far as the enjoyability. I found I got to play through it a little faster, a little looser, and I didn't have to focus so much on, watching my lives and making sure, I need to make sure I hit 50 before I hit this post, otherwise I'm going to miss my shot in an emerald. It really smoothed it out for me. I actually was surprised at how much better that made the game.
I'm curious, Knuckles and Sonic 2, did that really change the dynamic as far as the final boss battle or anything like that?
I could not beat the final boss with Knuckles, but I also didn't try that hard. I died a few times, and I said, forget this.
Because I know Knuckles can't jump as high. And,
so some of the bosses are a little weirder, including the final boss. So I know it's obviously possible to beat it, but I didn't. It's difficult.
Well, that might be a challenge for me then to try it, because I can breeze through Sonic 2, and the final boss is, a cakewalk for me now.
Yeah, but, you should, Austin. It does change some of the bosses. It makes them different. It makes them some of them more difficult.
Yeah.
But as a
Okay.
whole, I
Right
feel
on.
it is a worthwhile experience. The Knuckles' slower acceleration, lower jump, and obviously the awesome fact that he can glide and hang on walls changed the game enough where it's totally worth it. I was really surprised.
Right. Cool.
All the other 5 out of 5s, Austin, are pretty standard. Your Sonics, your Marios.
Basically stuff you're going to play every
Yeah.
year, and so to put it on a best of list is probably somewhat redundant. Well, maybe not redundant as so much as
Not
it just won't
interesting
sound
to
as
talk
interesting. Unless it's this Mario game, which you can't see on camera right now, Chris, but you will see on the final product. Well, I guess I'll sort of continue with that. I'll talk about some of the best games I played this year, if I can remember them. Most of them I have to do off the top of my head because I can't see my YouTube channel list right now. But easily one of the best for me has been, this might be predictable for some of you guys based on the amount of videos I've uploaded about it, but it's Battletoads. Funny enough, you had mentioned it. I finally beat it for the first time this year, and I just got absolutely hooked to the game. And now it's one of my favorites, and so that's definitely one of the best I've played.
Do you believe it's one of the best games you've played, or is it just one of your favorites?
One of my favorites. Well, I think it's... you see, Battletoads is the kind of game where like you don't want to recommend it to someone because they're going to get wrecked.
Yeah, I'll never play it.
And you don't want to see them go through that pain and suffering. But once you do complete it, it's just like... I don't know. It's your opinion on the game just changes like that, you know. Yeah.
Battletoads.
So I'm like all tearing up over like, oh,
I love it. I beat it. It's mine. It'll be there for you, Austin.
Well, it's like a lot of people that they're like, man, Ninja Gaiden's so hard, and I've been playing it for 20 years and I still can't beat it, and they don't feel that good about the game, you know, like it's a cool game, but man, screw level 6-1 and whatever.
6-2. That's where I run out of patience.
And, yeah.
Love the game, but
And,
I don't know if I'll ever beat it. Maybe someday I'll sit down and get through it.
You could definitely beat it, dude. You can definitely beat it. But once they actually finally beat the game, they figure out how to beat the game, and then they start beating it consistently, and they're like, "This game is so good." Yeah, it's a lot more enjoyable when you're not getting, you know, basically smacked down to the ground and beaten down with a 2x4. You know, Battletoads is a game that you're going to be throwing controllers. You're going to be getting frustrated, but there's a lot of randomness to the game, but there's also just enough control aspects where you can control the flow of the game if you do things just right, and you can really blaze through the game and really make Battletoads your bitch, whereas normally it's the other way around. And it's such a satisfying feeling to just roll through that game. But the game also has like a really good sense of speed at parts. It's got a really good sense of like technicality, a skillful kind of technicality. Like I can do a lot of neat little tricks to get through the game faster and easier that I never would have figured out, you know, when I was a kid, 10 years old playing this game. And it's just, it's got a great soundtrack. It's got great graphics for the NES. And it's just that difficulty is really absurd. But once you get a handle on that, I think it's one of the best NES games for a certain kind of player. You know, I probably won't recommend Battletoads to a lot of people because of, you know, the skill required and the amount of time and effort that has to be put into it to be able to beat it. I'll be like, save your sanity. Go play something else.
Go play Shenmue.
But for people like me that have put the time into it, thanks to streaming, I put a lot of time into it. If I didn't stream, I probably wouldn't have been able to beat the game. I wouldn't have had the patience. But people on stream were like pushing me on. They're like, "Come on, you could do it! Oh, so close!" And you know, stuff like that. And so that definitely helps. If you're streaming for people trying to beat Battletoads, I think you're going to have a much greater chance of beating it than you will if you try to actually just sit in your basement alone. You're going to be breaking some windows in that case. But no, that's definitely one of the best games I played this year, and easily one of my top NES games now. One of the not best games I played was the Genesis version of Battletoads.
I watched part of your side by side, but I, you know, not a huge Battletoad fan. You know, just kind of okay, that's interesting.
a lot of the issues with the Genesis version are, well, some of the issues are cosmetic, but a lot of them are technical, which really brings it down many, many notches over the NES version. There are parts where you'll clip through like the floor and you'll die instantly on the Genesis version, and that'll never happen on the NES version. There's a lot of little lazy design choices that were made in like the last, quarter of the game and stuff like that just makes it absolutely absurd. And it's kind of hard to explain, but if you play the NES version and you're really familiar with it, and you play the Genesis version, you're gonna get destroyed all over again. It's frustrating. It's kind of a bad conversion in many cases. But we're not talking about bad games here, Chris. We're trying to talk about our best games here. But I did want to mention Battletoads and Genesis. One of the more recent ones I played, I uploaded this a few weeks back as of uploading, this show. UN Squadron on the Super Nintendo. And I made a glowing post about it on Facebook. And I really think it's probably the best shoot 'em up on the Super Nintendo. You mentioned dying a lot, and that's definitely going to put a damper on your enjoyment of the game. It is challenging, but it's not like ridiculously difficult like R-Type 3
that's
is,
part of playing
or
a
something
shmup
like
too.
that.
It is dying a lot in repetition and learning and.
Absolutely. But UN Squadron for me, it's just like music's great, graphics are great, the control's perfect, the amount of weapons variety, it's crazy. You get different ships, and you get even like your 3 different base characters you can pick have slight different traits. Like one character's main weapon will power up a lot faster than the others, but their shield, they won't get as many hits on their shield, or their shield bar will charge up faster. Like the Greg character, the big scruffy looking dude, his shield charges up faster after you take a hit than the Shin character does on the far left. So, there's a lot of different options in the game. You've even got your normal difficulty settings, easy, normal, hard, and then apparently there's an arcade unlockable difficulty you can unlock if you really want to be a masochist. So there's just so much there to the game that a lot of Super Nintendo shmups just don't have. You can play certain levels in whatever order you want, kind of Mega Man styled in a way, You can't just go do any level, but you might have a choice of 3 or 4, once you get to the second part of the game, and it's nice. You can grind out enemies and side missions and get extra money to buy your best ship if you performed poorly in the earlier stages. And I think it's a very well designed game, and it's not even really cheesy now that I think about it. Like the intro and the ending is fine. Like it's cool, it fits, and it's just like I think the best. Most well-made shmup package on the system. Yeah,
most people really, really enjoy that one. It's definitely high on their list. I think most people maybe overpraise Axelay as the best, but UN Squadron is better.
Yes. Well, Space Megaforce too, but that's a topic for another day. Oh, that is a topic for another day.
I did my favorite. I did a video 5 great 16-bit shmups. So Genesis, TurboGrafx, Super Nintendo, Neo Geo.
Yeah.
And that was the number one kind of thing. Like, you didn't include Axelay, and in my mind, I'm like, that's because it's not great. But whatever.
For me, Axelay is 50% great and then 50% fluff. Yeah. And I really can't stand the vertical sections in that game, but I think the side-scrolling sections are brilliant.
Yeah, they remind me of R-Type. Really
very
good.
Well made. Yeah, like they're not relying on graphical gimmicks. There's lots of background scrolling. The
transparencies,
bright and vibrant.
Patterns.
Yeah, transparencies. But the top-down levels are just kind of like. So yeah, Axelay is really 50-50 for me, and then like the weapon system is just kind of redundant as well. Like it's there's like a couple of like final weapons you unlock. They're not even that great, and you're like, what? Really? You should have just given me all the weapons at once. So that would have made the game so much better. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, we're getting up in time here, Chris. I wanted to ask you, What would you say your biggest or best gaming acquisition or purchase has been over the last year?
I don't, man, Austin. What I'm gonna do here is bounce to my Facebook page.
You didn't buy any Vectrixes again, or any rare systems, or you didn't buy it?
Really, I think I've been pretty good with kind of staying in a budget, not going crazy. I haven't used that credit card in a few years.
I see you still buy games. Oh, I'm jealous about that. I can't stop using that. Not yet. I see that you do buy games regularly, though. You're always posting stuff to your Facebook page.
Most of these are $5 or less. Like I literally.
Okay.
Tomorrow, after I get a video up, I will probably go to 4 or 5 different used gaming stores, and if something's $30 and I don't think it's worth it, I just don't buy it. Facebook, yeah, I don't know why this is taking so long to load. So basically, all of my new purchases, I usually take a picture of and toss them up on the Facebook page. So facebook.com/IMPLANTgames. Looking through my list of acquisitions this year, Austin, I don't know if I've really gotten anything that rare this year. I was really
Super Nintendo Doom.
Is that rare?
That's not. No, it's not rare. But I just thought it would be an awesome.
Yeah,
purchase.
It's fun to see Mega Man X, on a shelf. Not even at the high-end store. Doom, obviously, pretty cool to see out in the wild.
Yeah.
I don't know if. Yeah, there we go. Contra Hardcore. Actually, that was the store 2 blocks from me, which kind of sucked for a long time, and then lately with CDs and DVDs kind of dying in the used market, they seem to be a little more aware of retro gaming, and it's actually gotten a lot better. So I strolled in there one day, like on this bottom of this shelf of it's kind of like a bunch of glass cases, and then on the bottom are shelves with games, and then on the top is like controllers hanging off hooks and stuff like that. And I looked down because you had to bend over. It was on the top of a pile that you couldn't see unless you got down, and there was Contra Hardcore, which I thought was pretty awesome. Just to find. Again, I don't know what is that game? $40, $35, something like that.
Cartridge only, yeah, something like that.
This was complete inbox with color manual.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool.
The color manual version was the original version. So
going through them, clicking pictures as fast as I can. Some games were really hard for me to find, Austin. Sonic Unleashed, weirdly enough, took me forever to find. And then when I found it, now I see it everywhere. It's like $20 at Target. It's at every used store I ever go to. Yeah, but it took me a while. Yeah, that looks like it's it. The real nice picks are going to be Contra Hardcore, Mega Man X, and Doom. So all around, reasonable price games. Nothing crazy like an Aero Fighters or a Vectrex or, anything. I would say the coolest thing, Austin, I don't know where you're at time here, was something really cool that happened this year was Shenmue and Streets of Rage soundtrack getting released on vinyl. That was announced in May.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get the super limited release, the splatter pattern vinyl. I must have been a couple minutes too late. But I did review that. But it's actually really cool just to have. There's a couple of nice art prints I'll be able to put on my wall. And I thought that was really cool, and I hope more of those happen. Some really good old-school video game soundtracks getting released on vinyl, so that I can listen to them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
You, Austin, what are your acquisitions this year?
My acquisitions, I'm always buying and selling.
Pinball.
No, that is absolutely true. Pinball. I recently got a Simpsons Pinball Party machine, which is quite an expensive pinball machine. I've been trying to work my way back up to getting to that territory of pinball machines in my collection. But it's a pretty awesome game. Lots of stuff to do on it. It's a very deep game, probably one of the deepest games ever made. So that's keeping me occupied right now in the realm of pinball. And for those of you guys that don't know, I play a lot of pinball outside of video games. So when you're thinking to yourself, oh, why hasn't he uploaded a Let's Play? I'm probably playing pinball and playing in tournaments and hanging out with pinball people and stuff like that. So or making pinball videos. I got a pinball channel too here on YouTube. So no, the Simpsons Pinball Party is probably my easily my biggest acquisition. I've had some other ones too. Like I got a Stern Avatar earlier in the year, which was pretty awesome for a couple months. And then it's not nearly as deep as Simpsons, so I had to sell it to get something like Simpsons. And then before that, I had a Sega GoldenEye, a pinball machine by Sega. They've got little Sonic emblems on the flippers, which is pretty cool. That was a really fun game, but also not very deep, so that had to go. But as far as video game stuff goes, I actually mentioned it earlier. I didn't actually even mean to mention it, but I got an FM Towns Marty, fellow YouTube user and Atari ager, Too Quick Capri, sent it to me early on in the year, and just as a loaner. And then just about a month ago, we started talking about actually selling it to me, and because he was thinking about buying an FM Towns computer instead, which can run more software than the Marty console can. And so yeah, now I have an FM Towns Marty.
That's so funny, Austin, because I remember a conversation where you told me not to bother.
That's right. Yeah.
I see what you were doing.
That's right. Well, because I would actually stream it and play it. You would probably put it on a shelf and then
3 years from
go work
now,
on
I'd
Sonic the
review
Hedgehog reviews. It just wouldn't have been worth the investment to you. But I actually, because I played on stream a lot and stuff like that, I think it was worth it. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So I'm trying to think of some other stuff I picked up this year, but because my game selection is always coming and going. I've been trying to cut down on the amount of games I actually purchase, but the Marty purchase was probably the biggest one for me. I did get another Neo CD, also from Too Quick. That was a really cheap deal, so I jumped on that.
Oh, there's some games for that I need to reacquire. I actually had to sell Neo Drift Out and Metal Slug for the Neo Geo CD, so I was sad to see them go.
Well, you can just make CDR copies of them, and you're back in business. Yeah, but those games are Metal Slug in particular is like $100 and $150 game now, yeah. Or is it more on Neo CD? It used to be $100, $150. Now I think it might even be more.
I don't know. I believe I sold it last summer for maybe $130, $140 in that area, and then Neo Drift Out for $210.
Yeah, I wouldn't be buying those again. That's me. Like, it's your money, but man.
Metal Slug for sure. I'd like to get Metal Slug 1 and 2 on the Neo Geo CD. Some of my favorite, Austin, the Metal Slug games are my favorite run and gun. I like them better than Contra and Mega Man and some of the other games. Those are the ones I really enjoy. So I would like to get those on the real hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you, man. I hear you. I had Metal Slug 2 real hardware. Back actually not too long after it came out on Neo CD, and I had that copy up until just a few years back, and ended up selling it for probably about $100. And it's just crazy, like what those Neo CD games have jumped up to. But it really makes sense for that platform because they are kind of rare. The Neo CD did not do very well as a platform, and a lot of those games, especially the United States versions, are legitimately like uncommon and rare, or rare. Metal Slug in particular, Metal Slug 2 in particular, is very late release for the system, all things considered. So, and it's like a cheaper alternative to an actual MVS or AES cartridge. Apparently, MVS carts are now going up in price big time. I think because a lot of people don't want to buy AES, and there's so many people into MVS now. Now those prices are going up, and so now it's like, some people might be going to the Neo CD.
Need to get those Neo Geo CD releases. I pretty much at one point had pretty much every game I wanted for the system, and I did have to part with some, but I'd like to get them back before these games start costing $300-$400 because I don't think I could buy a $400 CD.
No, yeah, that's no, especially in the Neo CD where some games have like Metal Slug 2. Metal Slug 2 is probably my favorite Metal Slug game. Part 1 and Part 2 are easily my favorites, but Part 2 in the Neo CD is a little bit harder to put up with the load times. There's much more of it. Metal Slug 1 actually loads relatively quickly, and it's only got one load screen between stages, I believe, whereas Metal Slug 2 has mid-level load sequences, and the main load sequences between stages is really long, and so it's like, it's harder to recommend on the Neo CD, but I actually still enjoy Part 2 of the Neo CD. That's actually kind of the way I'm used to playing it, honestly. But Metal Slug 1 is probably, from a loading perspective, definitely the better of the two on the CD. But it's still great games nonetheless, and I don't blame you for wanting to get those again. Those are nice games. I mean, not just to have them on a shelf, but I mean, Metal Slug they got some cool artwork and stuff like that. And I've always liked the Neo CD like box styling, like the kind of interesting like spine area, and it's just
they look nice.
A very unique system. Yeah, so. And SNK always put like a label like real time battle action shooter game. And you're like, what? This is Metal Slug?
This is a basketball game? Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff. I got a question to ask you, Chris, sort of like moving on here. Have you done any modern gaming recently, or have you not had any time for it?
Well, I wanted to get Mario Maker, and then I see all your social media posts, and I'm like, okay, I don't think I can. It'll suck my life away. I have caught up on a few modern franchises that I probably should have played. Sly Cooper, the very first Sly Cooper game on the PlayStation 2. I actually did finally get a PlayStation 2 this year. From Half Price Books.
Well, that's a good acquisition. That's great.
So PlayStation 2 and 8 megabit memory card and a controller for $35. That seemed like a good deal to me.
Yeah,
Slim
it's fine.
line. So Sly Cooper I caught up on. I think the only other modern-ish thing, Austin, is Maverick Hunter X on the PlayStation Portable.
Did you beat that?
No, actually, I'm struggling a bit to get into it, even though I really enjoy Mega Man X. I don't know if I'm not in a Mega Man mood or if something feels different.
No, it definitely feels different. It's a little clunky thanks to the 3D graphics, and Dracula X Chronicles on the PlayStation Portable is kind of the same way, where they took an originally two-dimensional game made up of sprites and made it a 2.5D game where everything is still a 2D plane, but 3D polygonal characters, and the movement's always kind of clunky. It looks kind of weird, and Maverick Hunter X is kind of the same way.
So I've played that. I downloaded it on the PlayStation TV, which I think you and I still own, and that didn't really help either. I actually preferred playing it on the PSP that way. But I will get to it, and I will review it, and I know I'll love it. The soundtrack is a really nice mix. The guitar is so much better than the Super Nintendo. And it's just a slight learning curve. So I would say that's kind of it, Austin. Sly Cooper. I do have Ratchet and Clank behind me. Another series that I know I'm really going to enjoy, but just haven't played it. So I look forward to that as well.
Okay, yeah, I was actually donated a couple of Ratchet and Clank games. And I played one for a little bit, but I just haven't had the time to get into them. Or at least I haven't made the choice to get into them. I've been just occupying myself with other games. Man, so not much modern gaming recently. You really should pick up Mario Maker. Yeah. Definitely.
Someday, I
Best
will.
game on the Wii U.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I have a feeling that's gonna be like a Minecraft type series on YouTube where people are gonna be able to make Mario Maker videos and milk that for quite a few years. It kind of has that vibe to it.
Hey man, the kids will love it.
I've been meaning to do it just for them, just to have it in the house. It seems like we should, but haven't yet.
And then you can play my levels.
I can play Austin's levels.
my levels aren't difficult. I'm making regular Super Mario style levels right now.
Right on.
Oh man, so what else have we got on the agenda here?
I don't have an agenda. You have an agenda.
I know, that's what was fun about this. I was like, I'm not going to share Chris my notes.
I am just a guest.
Just a guest, not just a guest. You are the guest, Chris. The guest. Kris Genthe is in the house.
I have not. All the modern gaming I've done, Austin, is 10 years old. DuckTales Remastered, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, Sonic Unleashed.
I've been playing a lot of Xbox One, aside from Mario Maker. I actually hadn't touched my Wii U in a long time until I got Mario Maker. So the Wii U has had some life breathed into it once more, but my Xbox One has seen a lot of use.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a very solid system now, versus when I first got it. It was not so solid. That was almost 2 years ago now, almost come November. 2015 will have been 2 years. So, but really solid system now. I can't vouch for PlayStation 4, but I know compared to the Wii U, my Wii U pretty much collects dust now due to like the limited amount of releases that come out. And, Microsoft's platform has really had a bunch of games that have really appealed to me, like Sunset Overdrive and the Rare Replay collection and stuff like that. Good. I've been going back and playing Halo once more, thanks to being able to stream from the Xbox One without having to get up from my couch. That's a really nice feature. I can watch Twitch on it. I can stream from Twitch on it. So pretty cool stuff there. I've been playing a lot of that. Not sure if I'm really going to be buying any more Xbox One games for the rest of the year. I don't think I'm going to be picking up Halo 5. So, the rest of my modern gaming this year is probably not going to be a whole lot aside from Mario Maker and then just playing what I've already been playing on Xbox One. Although I will be buying Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U when that comes out. The original Xenoblade Chronicles would have been the best game I played in 2014, because that's where I did most of my gameplay time on that. And that's a Wii game. But, it definitely sounds like since you've been keeping really busy with making YouTube videos, you've kind of cut back on normal game time, I guess. I remember when we were doing the podcast, you were playing a little more modern. Yeah. You're still mostly retro classic games, but you definitely had more modern in there.
It's not that I don't want to.
You guys were playing a lot of Minecraft.
It's hard for me to get through. Like Shenmue, I don't remember how long that took. Probably around 20 hours, 17 hours.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to sit down and play a game like that. Just because I have to do it in such a small amount of time, and so that's kind of the same thing with a modern game. I just don't want to play a 10-hour game every single week. So. That's more of what it is. Plus, Austin, as you know, the backlog is still, 206 reviews in. The backlog is still hundreds of games deep. So I don't really have a huge need to kind of go out and buy the latest $60 games. I have no problems waiting for them to drop down to 5 or 10.
Oh, yeah, same here. I mean, I'm in a financial situation right now where it's like it would be really reckless of me to go out and buy $60 games every week. Like, I just don't have that kind of money. So, for me, I'm looking at it as like, Xenoblade is going to be the one guaranteed $60 purchase in the next, 2 months, basically, 3 months. And aside from that, if I buy any modern games, it's going to be $5, $10, $20 games, if that. But like you, I'm also kind of busy doing the retro stuff and on YouTube. Although unlike you, I am actually kind of running out of games to Let's Play. So
I know the feeling. Like, okay,
yeah.
All right, I've played every single good game that I own, and okay, we're gonna have
every game I can beat without requiring too much practice.
That too, for sure.
So, but thankfully, streaming has sort of filled that void a little bit, whereas I don't have to really spend that much time practicing on my own. I can just play them on stream and get used to them and then go do a Let's Play, which I've done several Let's Plays this year because of streaming the games.
Yeah, that's good.
Including UN Squadron, and Battletoads and, several games actually. So, but I'm still running out of games to Let's Play. I've got a few Let's Plays planned. I've got, Sonic 2, as we discussed earlier,
Knuckles.
Vector Man on the Genesis. Not with Knuckles, just regular Sonic 2 first, and then if I want to down the road, I'll do a Knuckles run. What else was I planning? I had a couple other Let's Plays planned. Double Dragon 2 on the NES probably, because I did stream that early in the year. I might even try another Super Ghouls and Ghosts Let's Play, because I did stream that recently too, although I probably won't be able to, I don't know, maybe I'll just skip that, because last time I tried it, I broke a Super Nintendo.
I'm not surprised. Don't play Zool. You'll break another one.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't have to worry about throwing the Zool 2 cartridge this time because, or Zool. Yeah, I actually tried streaming Zool.
It was bad,
Super
wasn't
Nintendo
it?
Zool. It was really bad. Yeah, I like Zool 2 way, way, way more. As much crap as I give Zool 2, I actually still enjoy the game.
Battletoads.
It's just. Yeah, once I try to get to the final stages, though, the difference between Battletoads and Zool 2 is Zool 2 just it looks like people just point and clicked enemies in, and that's it. Whereas Battletoads, everything was laid
flow
out
and
intelligently. There's flow and logic to it, absolutely. Zool 2 doesn't have that, especially on the second two levels, second two final stages. It's really, really bad. So it's definitely controller throwing inducing. And then you add in bad hit detection, where you take damage even though you didn't actually touch the boss or something like that.
I hate Zool 2.
Yeah, I
took so much flack over the years. Like, no, Zool 2 is good, Chris. You're wrong. It's not. It's not that good.
It's not, but it has some redeeming qualities. Like I really like the soundtrack in areas. Yeah. I think the graphics are nice and colorful. Yeah. It runs at a pretty good frame rate and stuff like that.
As a J game, it's amazing.
I don't even know about that anymore. But if you're a casual player, I think you could enjoy Zool 2. If you
play through the first couple of levels, it's fine.
If you play through the first couple levels, it's fine. But if you're trying to actually beat the game, it's Battletoads level type stuff there. It's tough. So, but no more talking about Zool 2. Old podcast people have heard us talk about that many times. It's funny how we mentioned it again in this little show here. So, Chris, I guess we can go ahead and pretty much just wrap things up here. I've got one last final question for you, though.
Is the answer Tokyo Extreme Racer?
No. I mean, maybe. Okay, so aside from Musha, what is the greatest shmup ever made? Tokyo Extreme Racer.
Yeah, definitely. I've got my master list here, and I don't even know. I'm just not sure.
Come on, Chris, this should be quick, man. I figured you'd be like Aero Fighters immediately.
Aero Fighters 2 is definitely up there for me. I really enjoy. Yeah, I mean, I kind of have a bunch that I really group up there at the top. Outside of Moosh, I'm not sure if I have a favorite, Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty lame answer. Let's just go with something really...
I actually originally had the question as... I was actually just going to be something stupid like...
To me, the best 16-bit shooters are the ones that people overlook. So we already talked about... Everyone talks about Axelay. The games like Biometal, the games like Biohazard Battle, the games like Aero Fighters 2, the games like Steel Empire that nobody ever talks about are, in my opinion, probably the better titles. They didn't sell as well in the 90s, they weren't as popular in the magazines, but like those four in particular, in my opinion, are really, really good. And games that people getting into the genre or think they know the genre should really check out, because they are better than what everyone says the best are.
It depends for me. Like, me, like, I like a really tight package that has phenomenal music. Like, music that's gonna get stuck in my head and I would want to burn to a CD, that kind of stuff, And, like, games like Biohazard Battle and Steel Empire, and they don't have that for me. But from an actual gameplay perspective and graphics and stuff like that, I think they're great games, and I highly recommend them, absolutely. So, it really depends on what you're looking for.
There was the Sega CD, man. I know you want to end here.
Lords of Thunder, Android Assault.
Android Assault is a really awesome one that I really enjoy.
Yes.
Way underrated, awesome soundtrack, really good gameplay. It's kind of got that tight R-type like gameplay to it.
Yeah. Not too difficult.
I feel like I don't know. It's not showing up on my master list of games I've reviewed. And the other one that's up there for me, Austin, Last Resort on the Neo Geo CD. Another R-type style game, that brutally difficult. Just 5 levels, but again, super tight gameplay, really, really good music, and enough sprite scaling effects to kind of make it feel like a Neo Geo CD game, to make it feel special. But that's another one that's really up there for me. Actually, I think that Last Resort might be, Austin. The graphics and the sound are really kind of elevated, like you want from a good shmup.
Do you actually go back and do you play Last Resort? When it comes to shmups, do you go back and do you play Last Resort relatively frequently compared to the others? I guess that would be like a determining factor. Like me, like Super R-Type or Raiden Silvergun, like those are easily my most played shmups, and thus those would be at the very, very top of my list. But
I would say, I don't know. My time, Austin, my time is so managed and
no,
yeah.
I understand. I
did, I went back and played it again for a list video and absolutely fell in love with it all over again. Totally awesome.
So I think my original question was actually going to be, is Musha the greatest game ever made?
No.
And I wanted to see what your response was going to be, but I changed it to aside from Musha, what is the greatest?
Musha is a great game. I think it's a touch overrated. I don't think it's the masterpiece that other people do. I think it's got some more bland moments than people may want to admit to, but as a whole, it's amazing to think that came out in 1990.
I could see where some people would find it, the bland moments bland, but for me, it's like the graphics and the driving soundtrack is what drives me through the bland moments, and I don't notice.
I would buy that argument for sure.
Yeah. So, but not everybody likes super fast driving, melodic Genesis.
Not everyone likes
heavy
good
metal
music.
style
I don't know
music.
why that is.
well, I mean, not everybody likes like fast metal and stuff like that. And to me, the soundtrack in Musha is basically like speed metal.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
For sure, double drums and yeah.
All right, guys. So, Kris, thanks for coming on, man, and doing this. This is pretty awesome. So,
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Again, for those that aren't familiar with me or our history, definitely check out youtube.com/IMPLANTgames. And Austin, of course, thank you
check out
for having me on and chatting
Kris.
again. It's been fun.
No, it's been fun. I mean, if you guys like this, if you listen to this point, let us know in the comments below. Maybe I can drag Kris on, once or twice a year to do this. Maybe we can make this like a semi-annual or an annual thing if Kris is up for it. It's been fun. The podcast was great. I think we ended it probably at the right time. I think it was due, and I think what's happened since has been good, and especially with your YouTube stuff, Kris. I mean, the amount of content you're putting out now is great, and you're obviously building a following, which is amazing. And but it's still fun doing this. I still like doing this. It's just with the amount of stuff that him and I do on a regular basis, it's really tough to fit in a 3-hour window of recording a podcast type of thing. So no, it's been really fun revisiting this format. Although this is going to be a little more interesting on my part because there's going to be
see what kind of goofy stuff I was doing over here.
Yeah, that's right, man. So you can see all the goofy stuff I was doing over here. But no, check out his channel, guys. Description box below, you can find links to his website and YouTube channel and Facebook and all that jazz. I was going to mention something else, but I totally forgot. Oh, yeah, that's right. If you guys like this format, feel free to go check out old podcast episodes. I have an entire playlist of every single Implant Games podcast on my YouTube channel. Just look for the Implant Games podcast playlist here on my channel, and you can go from pretty much... Actually, it might be the newest episode back to the oldest. I don't know how I have it sorted, but you can check that out too. And Kris, I don't know if you knew, I actually had that podcast playlist on there. I think I told you a while back. Okay, cool. So, people, you guys could check that out if you want to hear our old episodes. So it's actually kind of funny going back to those old episodes because we're like, man, I hear about this Wii U thing. I don't know about a tablet controller.
We lived through like a lot of stuff that's out now. It's kind of neat.
We did.
Yeah, Wii U. PlayStation TV.
Yeah, we had debates on the Xbox One, I think, Microsoft's initial botched announcement of that, and
arguments about DRM, all sorts of good stuff.
Arguments about whether Musha is actually a good game or not. Yeah, lots of good stuff. So if you guys like that, go check that out. I'll have a link to the Implant Games podcast playlist below as well, so that'll be there. So with that, guys, I think we're gonna go ahead and cut it off here. Thanks again, Kris. It's been fun, man. Again, maybe I can drag you out to do this again, like sometime, maybe a year from now. So good luck on your further, your YouTube stuff, and yeah, I don't even know what else to say.
Thank you very much.
So, no problem, Kris. All right, Kris, we'll take it easy, and everybody out there, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.